Hello everyone and welcome to another very nice game, this one from the Julius Baer Generation Cup, the winner's section. It is Nodirbek Abdusattorov versus Alireza Firouzja. Those of you who remember, and I imagine most of you do, Nodirbek Abdusattorov was the 2021 World Rapid Champion, and this is the Rapid time format, so, he definitely knows his way around the chessboard there, but the problem is he already lost 2 games, so this is the 3rd game, and he absolutely must strike back. So let's check it out and see what happened here. Nodirbek has the white pieces and he opens with pawn to d4. We have knight to f6, c4, e6, and now knight to f3. We have pawn to d5, the queen's gambit declined is on the board, and now knight to c3. We have the 3 knights of the queen's gambit declined, and now c5. The Semi-Tarrasch is on the board, and this is very, very tactical stuff. Now, c captures on d5 is the move everyone plays here. Sometimes e3 is played, and very, very rarely bishop to g5. But c captures on d5 is pretty much automatic in top level. We have c captures on d4. Now, interestingly here, there are only 3 possible moves. There's e captures on d5, knight captures on d5, and c captures on d4. Any other move for black loses the game terribly. Even if you tried making a move here for black other than these 3 moves, you just get absolutely destroyed. It's a true story. So c captures on d4. This is the sharpest line, not the most popular one, but definitely the sharpest one. And now knight captures on d4. We have knight captures on d5 and bishop to d2. So you are ready to strike in the center with d4. Bishop to c5, now challenging the knight, not allowing the free e4 move, and knight to b3. Attacks the bishop, bishop to e7, and now pawn to g3. First getting ready to get to the light square bishop and castle kingside. Sorry, not bishop to b6, that was a different game. Bishop to e7, and now pawn to g3. And here we have castles, and this is a new move. Usually b6 is played, and sometimes bishop to f6 was played, but castles is a new move. So now already as of move 9 we have a completely new game, and it will seemingly give black problems with the development of the queen side, as Nodirbek will show. Bishop to g2, we have knight to b6 now, bringing the knight back, and now knight to a5. And now how is Alireza to defend the b7 pawn? Well, that's exactly the point. You don't have to do it. Bishop to b4, or I mean you have to do it, but you have to do it wisely, and here Alireza defends it with a tactic. Now, if you capture on b7, regardless of what width, you could capture with the bishop. Let's say you capture with the bishop. The problem is you just capture the bishop, and after knight captures, queen e7 traps the knight. The bishop here takes away all of the squares. The queen also helps, so you just blunder a piece, and it's not much better capturing with the knight. If you capture with the knight, queen to e7 right away, and how are you to save your knight? There's no way to do it. You will have to give up 2 pieces for the rook. You're going to have to go knight a5. After bishop captures, okay, you're going to win the rook, but then knight captures bishop, and again, black is much better here. So that's why after this castles and the bishop to bishop to b4 move, sorry, my bad. After this g3 and bishop to b4 move, wow, sorry. Knight to e4 was played. So of course you want to trade off the bishops here. Now comes bishop captures on a5, bishop captures, and now knight to c6, going after the bishop on a5, bishop to c3, and now knight to d5, putting pressure on the bishop. So Alireza wants to get rid of Nodirbek's bishop pair as well. We have castles and pawn to b6 now. Yes, it opens up this diagonal, but there are 3 knights in between the bishop and rook, so it's safe to do it. We have queen to a4, putting pressure on the knight, but just bishop to b7. We have queen to a3, similar maneuver like Bobby Fischer did against the Boris Spassky in their World Chess Championship match, and now pawn to a5. Knight to d6 goes after the bishop here, and just bishop to a6, putting pressure on the e2 pawn, but now comes bishop captures on d5, e captures, and rook f to d1. Nodirbek says, all right, you capture on e2, I'm going to capture on d5. Alireza says, nope, that's not going to happen. So knight to e7, he defends, and now pawn to e4. So took Nodirbek a while to get that e4 move in, but Alireza just continues development. Queen d7, he connects the rooks, and now he of course wants to get the rook behind the knight and put pressure on that knight. And the problem is if you go e captures on d5, yes, you win a pawn temporarily, but then rook f to d8, you have to move the knight, and then of course the knight will capture back on d5. So after queen to d7, we have bishop to d4. Here Nodirbek puts pressure on the b6 pawn, and now look at this. D captures on e4, knight captures on e4, and now rook rook f to d8. So it seems like you could capture on b6, attack the rook and the queen, but of course Alireza would very happily give up the queen here, because once the king moves, there's really nothing to do. Bishop to f1 check is coming. Now if you go down the board, then this is just a nice checkmate, and of course if you go up the board, then rook to d3 check wins back the queen, and you are up a lot of material. So instead, after rook f to d8, we have queen to f3, and now we have queen to c6, countering the white queen. We have rook 8 to c1, going for a free tempo here, queen to g6, and now pawn to h4. And now Alireza could play pawn to h5, but I think he wanted to avoid knight to g5, so he played pawn to h6. We have pawn to h5, and now queen back to e6. So really harassing Alireza's queen there. Rook to e1, and now queen to f5. Finally, Alireza manages to trade off queens. Queen captures, knight captures, and now finally bishop captures on b6. So Nodirbek grabs that pawn, and what does Alireza get for it? He played rook d to b8. And okay, bishop captures on a5, wins another pawn. Alireza wins back one pawn, rook captures on b2, and now the position is a really tricky one. It seems like with all this variations, Nodirbek was able to win a pawn, but now his pawn on a2 is hanging, and there's just no good way to defend it, and you should just ignore that. The problem is your bishop on a5 isn't defended. It's merely in the way of this bishop. Should this bishop move somehow with tempo, you would lose material. But here Nodirbek played rook to a1. He wanted to defend his a2 pawn, and by doing so, he lost the game. It's not an easy move to spot. There is only one move that wins the game for Alireza, and he found it. Now let's see if you can find it. Feel free to pause the video and win the game for Alireza while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on always looking for tricky knight moves, as knights definitely are tricky bastards. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is knight to d4. This is the move, and there is no defense against all of the tricky knight jumps. Knight to f3 will fork the king and the rook. If you defend against that, knight to c2 will fork the two rooks. And it seems like there's really nothing you can do here. Like even if you play something like rook e to d1, okay, you avoid the king fork and the rook fork, but you run into knight to e2 check, king h2, and now bishop to b7. And like we said, the knight is now attacked, the bishop is attacked. There's no way to avoid losing a piece. So what Nodirbek did here is the only thing he could. He played rook e to b1. He says, all right, now your rook is hanging, so you don't have time for any tricky jumps. But Alireza says rook captures on b1 check, rook captures on b1, and now bishop to d3, attacking the rook, attacking the knight, and attacking the bishop here. And again, doesn't seem like it works, because Nodirbek finds rook to d1. Now the bishop and the knight are attacked here, but here comes knight to f3 with check, and he was in this position on a move 35 that Nodirbek Abdusattorov resigned the game, and with it the match. He lost 3-0, as did most of the other players, as you'll see later on when we check out the standings. So here you resign because, okay, you can play king g2, attack the knight, but once bishop captures on e4, you cannot capture on f3. Also, very nasty discoveries are coming. So Nodirbek will just be down a full piece. So of course you cannot do that. Let me just load the standings from the sorry, not that. Where do I have the standings? I'm pretty sure I had them somewhere. Nope. Just so you see the other ones. Let me just see if I have it here. No. Yeah, okay, I don't have it, so I'm just going to tell you what happened. Sorry about that. In the other matches. Sorry about that. Yeah, there we go. So Alireza defeated Nodirbek Abdusattorov with a result of 3-0. Wesley So also defeated Pavel Ilyanov with a score of 3-0. Fabiano Caruana had a pretty tough match. It went all the way to Armageddon. He was able to beat Denis Lazovic, and Magnus Carlsen was able to beat Amin Tabatabai. The first game was drawn, and the two other games were won by Magnus Carlsen. So next, Alireza will face Wesley So in the semifinals. So we're going to check that out as well. If you have any other favorite games, do use hashtag suggestion, as even if I don't show your game right away, sometimes when I don't have anything planned, or if there is not an active event going on in the world, I will go over your suggestions But I always use the filter hashtag suggestion when I browse my emails or comments on YouTube. So if you haven't used hashtag suggestion, chances are I'm gonna miss your suggestion for the game. And also, for those of you who don't have Twitter, I actually met up with Alireza. He was visiting Croatia. He was in Zagreb, so we met up for a meal. There we have a very nice photo of Alireza and myself. Yeah, we had a meal. We talked for about an hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours. It was a very, very enjoyable experience. He's quite the gentleman, and we covered a huge array of different topics, not just chess. And yeah, if any of you guys were interested, yeah, he's a very fine gentleman. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to thank Andrew Wally, GuernseyChessFestival.org.gg, India Moon India is the best, and Crazy Dave for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon. Continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.